Hi, my name's Andrew Thompson. I'm the president of Palamina. We started the company in 2015. It was a spin out from Agnico. We sold my last company to Agnico. We're a greenfields exploration program. We've actually just completed a drill program on the Soltoro zone at Usicayos, which was very fruitful. We operate in southeastern Peru. We have both a set of gold assets, and then we have a new company that we purchased, which is a separate 100% owned company, which we're transferring in our copper silver assets. And so, at some point here, it enables us to separately finance and possibly spin that out. So we've had a productive year, and we'll take it from there.
Brilliant. Andrew, thanks for coming on the platform. We've not met or spoken before, so I appreciate you coming on. We like news stories and trying to understand them. You give us a bit of background yourself. You talked about like selling a company to Agnico Eagle, so I guess that's a bit of a clue. Tell us about your background.
I'm entrepreneurial. I've sold 8 companies. We just sold another one. I sold Soltoro, which was a company we defined about 80 million ounces of silver. We sold it to Agnico in 2015. I've been a .com guy. I've been a financial services guy, but I like the challenge of exponentiating funds. And so mining is one of the few games where you can kind of, you can change your life at the end of a drill bit. And I've had that moment. And so it's hard to get away from it once you've had success in it. So this round, instead of being a chasing silver projects, my function, or what I'd like to try and do, is find a tier 1, 5 million ounce gold deposit. So we've chosen to do that in Peru.
Right. Okay. And tell us a bit about Peru at the moment, because it's difficult markets out there. And, Peru has had a sort of checkered past operating on the ground.
So I think the thing to remember is Peru has a lot of significant major companies, be it base metal and gold, that operate. And so for somebody, my business plan is to, create or find a big deposit and sell it. So from that perspective, it's a great place to be. I think, there's Latin America in general and South America has seen this polarization where you've got presidential candidates that are coming in that are promising the world, and they are all populists that don't deliver. So I think the biggest issue with Peru is they've gone through quite a few presidents and mine ministers since we've been there. The uptick on all that right now is that these higher commodity prices, especially post-COVID, they were electrifying, or all of their permitting was going through this process where they were making everything electronic. And when I first arrived in Peru, you would go to the mines department and there would literally be people sitting behind desks, behind binders that were piled up. It was all very organized, but very inefficient. And they still have a chain of command that's a bit irritating, and that, as an example, last year we needed the water permit, and they were, electrifying or going electronic with their permitting for water. Normally it would take 2 weeks. Well, they shut it down for 6 months, and we weren't able to drill last year. And so now but everything's now in place. And to be honest, when I arrived there, it was a bit like a clogged toilet, if I can use a bad analogy. And, you really want to go to the bathroom, and you're sitting, and then you get in there and it's nothing's operating. You still got to do what you got to do. But now everything is working and functioning. So we're actually finding that it is a good place to be in terms of permitting. Like, it's not taking the length. It still takes a long time because of the critical path process one has to go through, and it is very sophisticated. But now that it's electronic, it's actually, everything you think can be done online, and it's paperless. And I don't know, for the people that suffered through it and the different presidential candidates, and I think the current Duarte, I think her approval rating, the current president, is something like 4%. So it's still not great. It puts it in perspective, but they are pro-mining. And so the traditional sort of Mexico, Chile, Peru jurisdictions are all having issues. And then you've got countries like Brazil and Argentina that are sort of coming up the rear, very surprisingly, and having real success. So like everything, it has its moments when it does well, and then there are moments where it does poorly. And I don't think the next election is till 2026. So, we're actually fairly happy with the current administration as badly as they are very pro-mining, and they've made some indications that they're going to help out. The other thing that's going on in Peru, there's Reinfo, which is they're trying to get rid of informal mining, and they've just extended it another year. So that it's good and bad, keeps everybody at bay and peace. But at some point they're losing a lot of tax revenue, and those groups with the price of gold are getting more and more active. And so you're sort of, there's this pull and push thing going on with the major companies where everybody's trying to figure out how to accommodate that. And that's probably the thing that's most, it's uncontrollable is maybe the way I would put it.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Let's talk about. I'm always interested in people's business plans, right? You're sitting on a number of gold projects at the moment, and obviously you kind of got the wind share component in there as well. Now, sub $10 million company.
Yes.
Right. Kind of limits your options somewhat, and you've got to sort of be able to tell a story of focus and have a plan and have a strategy to deliver that plan. So where am I looking when I go to this your presentation? There's a lot of data in there. What's priority?
So priorities are Usicayos project, where we've just completed a second drill program. We're just under 5,000 meters drilled to date. This program was 2,300, and we want to, the new zone that we're in is, we think, is the corazon, or the heart of the system. We've had good drill results, and we want to follow up by adding drills and drilling off a big resource, But the bigger picture is we're in southeastern Peru in an orogenic belt, the Puno Orogenic Belt, where we've had no competition. And when we started the company, we picked up, there's a company called Minera IRL. They've gotten rid of their entire exploration team that had 18 years in the belt. And we've managed to acquire, we've got participation in 7 projects. If you include the project Gaban, we sold the wind shear. And, it took us a while to permit, but they're also drilling. So, the catalyst right now is drill discovery. And the projects that we've picked up, there's an area called Macusani below us that had all these, 27 companies staking for lithium, and nobody was in our belt. So we've acquired a mass of projects that are real projects. We dropped a lot, but there are things that, like extension to Oyache, extension to our deposit next to Gold Mining's Crucero. So there's just a lot of things going on where I think that with the price of gold, my expectation is that we do a little better than we're doing, but we're going to be fine. And in Peru, there's no work commitment. So you can hold property relatively cheaply. It's $3 a hectare, but you don't have to put money in the ground. So the strategy here is we want to give the majors what they want. And what they want is a big land position, or, they want all sorts of properties that they can work. And there's a lot of interest in our area. And really the bigger pitch, too, is that it now has land. There's an intercontinental highway that went in, and all of it has road access. So as an example, we've just put a road up to our main zone, and we think we can reduce our cost next year from $350 a meter to $350 all in to $300. And when you look at Nevada drilling at $600, it starts to make a lot of sense. So that's really, we're at the stage now where we've done all the work up, and with the delays in permitting, like a lot of companies, we actually have a ton of information. So we're actually, not drilling too early in this case. So I'm pretty confident we can get it to where we need to get it to.
Right, and what happens with the rest of the portfolio? Is land cheap to hold, or licenses cheap to hold?
So we have a series of copper silver plays, and so I acquired a company called Vicus from Urania. That's Keith Barron. They spent $50 million in Ecuador and identified different. They really are working towards trying to find sedimentary hosted copper silver deposits. I'm not a fan of porphyry. I've played that game, and it's a lengthy. I have no hair now, and I'll be in a box before I can pull one of those things out of my hat. And I spent 15 years on one, but I am a big fan of high grade copper silver, and so all of the projects have that. And so we have the Pluma, which when we acquired Vicus from Urania, it's the only project I kept. They had 93,000 hectares. We kept a small one, but it's on a highway. There's showings, and Hannon is fully funded with JOGMEC to drill for one of these deposits. And if you know anything about the Congo and Zambia, they run for hundreds of kilometers, and they're flat as a pancake. And if they hit it, it'll justify our market cap. So that was a pretty simple decision. We didn't pay a lot. And there's a small 1% royalty with a buyback on 0.5%, So it's really, for me, that was a great acquisition. And then we've got 3 projects in the Santa Lucia district. Again, we have an office in Juliaca, so we've been acquiring those, and it's been an acquire and hold strategy. And there's Ivanhoe Capital, Barrick, Fresnillo, Aftermath Silver just raised $10 million with Eric Sprott. And there's a whole manganese trend there that we're in, which we can justify, and we're running programs on those. But the concept is if you have high grade copper silver, which in my mind, copper is as the best base metal, and silver is the best precious metal. You might even consider it a base metal in the age of electrification, or whatever we're going to call this next run up. And so for me, we're not having any trouble attracting people wanting to do stuff. And so, we've been pretty aggressive in terms of what we're doing. And I just think that is going to be the area of the market that really goes forward in a big way. I really am a former silver bug in the last company. And we had to deal with Sumitomo on something else. So I understand their thinking on what they want. And we just, we're acquiring ground at the bottom. We started in 2017. So, our strategy has been to not do a lot of drilling and grab property, because we think that's the game, owning the real estate. And that's how you get the major companies in to pick up, buy your company.
Right. Okay. And that kind of, how do you describe it? Is it prospect generator, greenfields, exploration? I mean, you mentioned earlier.
There's a lot of companies that will say we're only a prospect generator. I don't buy any of it. Like, I'll give you an example. Kaizen Discovery got taken out by Ivanhoe. There's Typhoon Technology, which looks down 900 meters. They're using it in Arizona right now with BHP. They just did a big deal. For whatever reason, some of the ground came open. Someone made a mistake, and we staked it for $1,600, and it covers 2 of their anomalies, and they're going to drill. For me, it's just being, we have our slogan is eyes on the ground. We watch all this stuff, and then, in the other area, which is kind of the main mining area in the Santa Lucia district, there are different operators that there's all sorts of data. And again, what I'm finding with the project generators is they'll pick up things that have a ton of data that have warts and all sorts of issues, where they're really, they just put it all together and hand it to somebody. But we're pretty aggressive in looking at things and deciding whether we should own them. And so there's a due diligence process we do. And again, our field office is in Juliaca, so we just, we can work it in the off season, when the rainy season, and that's sort of what we've done. But we've got our Galena project I just hired Alvaro Fernandez back away from Tinka, or not away from Tinka. He had left Tinka during COVID, but they were using gravity and drilling skarns, and we have a CRD project there that with very exciting numbers. And it's got the same signature Aftermath has for the manganese. So we just think we're going to find the limestone contact, do gravity, and then drill. So these are really, and it's got all sorts of water, even though it's at elevation. It's on a main highway, electricity right through the property, or the main railway runs through the property. So there's a bunch of reasons to own it.
Right. Okay. But just in terms of trying to strip it back, and I always think with smaller stories, you've got to be really clear about what the offer is. You're saying, right, okay, we're not prospect generator. We kind of really get into the detail, and we want to own these things to drill them and kind of move them along a bit here. Yet people aren't reacting to that story. I get it's been a tough market for 4 years, but nevertheless, you got to try and take control of the narrative and the conversation. So, simply put, what are you going to do next year, which is kind of going to change the profile of the company and drive that share price?
We've got a road now running up to Soltoro South. It'll reduce our costs fairly substantially. I would like to put another drill on, add a drill. So there's a drill sitting there. We're in the rainy season right now. So the end of April, we're going to start drilling again. And if we have success, the market's sort of dictating how many drills to put on it right now, and there's obviously the dilution factor, which has to be considered. So, I'm a big shareholder, so I shepherd my equity. I don't think it's a market where you have to be a little. You have to it's almost decided on a 3-month basis. It really isn't a market where you can say we're going to do this and do all that. It's really. It's an odd market because we're at all-time highs, and the majors have gone, the mid-tiers are going, the juniors are next. But if you can tell me when it's all going to happen, it's a different game, right?
Okay. Well, again, let's kind of deal with some of the things that people will be looking at if they kind of scan your project. They're going, right, okay, beginning of November, you put out some drill results.
Yep.
Beginning of November, people cashing in on year highs for you. I mean, the stocks are dropped off by half.
Yeah.
Was that
we
effectively
had one shareholder who lost his patience, and we're very tightly held. And, at the end of the day, our first 3 drill holes, we lost 2 of the holes. And it was in a complex hard rock yet we put the results out. And the second page was, all the visible gold intercepts. And that, I think that person just decided, I want out here. I don't believe it. And then, we followed up with a press release on what are the higher grade zones, because we drilled what we called the bulk tonnage zone first, and we came out with some decent numbers, 50 meter, 40 meter intercepts of about 0.7 on both ends of what we're calling a flower structure. So it's sort of in a northeast trend. And we, this is all near surface stuff. So we're actually there's a scout program to test all the different zones, and it's, there's some wide intercepts, some high grade. We did hit 24 gram material. And I just, we're just at the beginning, but the market is very unforgiving. They think you're going to find a gold deposit in the first 2 holes, and that's just the way it is, right?
It can be. It can be. Okay, so that was just one shareholder just bugging out at that point. Okay, so let's look.
Buying or selling begets selling. So we've he sold some, and then I'm certain it's not just one guy that sold it down, but that selling is now over, I think, and we're just to rebuild like a lot of other people, right?
Okay. Yeah, like I say, I'm not saying you're any exception here. I'm saying this happens a lot, but I just want to understand. People looking in will be scanning and sort of looking at certain things. So as long as you can explain, that's fine.
Yeah.
No problem. Let's look at 2025 and say, right, for me, the moment, so I hate talking about catalyst moments because it seems like the market for the last 4 years doesn't care.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, in terms of delivery points for you, which you think people should value, what are they next year?
So we still have one hole that's unreleased that we're waiting on results for. Windshear is I call it a sister company, but we've ended a project and we own 15.4%. And we've actually had a 10-bagger on it in terms of our investment. We had a return of capital of $3.6 million last year. And, again, that's non-dilutive. But they're chasing an equally exciting project where there's all sorts of indicators. There was a big nugget that came off the property from one of the prospectors. We haven't seen the results for those 4 holes. So just, over Christmas, we should see that results out. But they're also going to drill. And then with the copper silver assets, I'm thinking about spinning the company out to create additional value for shareholders. But again, I'm shepherding my own because I'm a large shareholder, and we do have Eric Sprott's got 12%. We're trying to do the best we can, and it's a bit of I think I do better in these markets as an entrepreneur because I get a little more creative, shall we say. But with the copper silver assets, if Hannon drills, it's a fully funded program, $35 million with JOGMEC. They're going to drill the copper silver property. So we could stand still, and there's still some value being added as we speak. And again, there's also in our district, again, Aftermath in Santa Lucia district, they just raised $10 million and moving forward. Barrick has taken a tremendous position in Puno. Karani's supposed to be coming on stream. There's talk of that. It's one of the largest undeveloped. So we're in the land of elephants. Like Puno has really got some very serious potential, and we've got big land positions. So, it's part of it is, waiting for the market to catch up to, the greenfield junior space. So, again, it's very difficult. We're largely ignored right now, and I don't think that's going to continue. And so it is a bit of an acquire and hold with the copper silver assets.
Right, and with regards to Windshear, what can you tell me?
So Windshear have 4 holes. They drilled in the Corotiri zone. There's a lot of evidence locally. There's a foundry that's turn of the 19th century, but it sits at where the San Gaban and Inambar rivers meet. And if you continue down, the largest alluvial gold fields in Latin America, I think there's 1,900 square kilometers and 45,000 people there. It added 10,000 people last year. It's all a result of the Intercontinental Highway going through. So there's a modern day gold rush that continues to expand. And in that same if you go up the river, you get to Oyachea. So again, our whole team defined that and did the 80,000 meters of drilling. It's the same geology 30 kilometers south down the road. And then, our Palamina Usicayos project is southwest. So again, we're dealing with geos that really understand the rock, and, we just need to have performance in the drill bit. So that, again, I'm not sure what their plans are. We actually have a board meeting in about an hour to discuss everything. I haven't seen results, but again, they're very committed to making that project work.
Right. Okay. Understood. Well, actually, I appreciate your time today. It's a nice sort of introduction to what's going on. I'm intrigued, when you say things like, these are actually quite good markets to do quite well in, and intrigued to see how that plays out for you next year, for sure. Thank you again. Have a wonderful Christmas break.
Yeah, Merry
sir.
Christmas to everybody and to yourself.